Fellas, we're pretty much covering every single weapon that has dropped this expansion, most notably the Salvation Edge weapons. These are some extremely unique drops with combinations we've never seen before. Things like Critically Anomaly, which can roll with Chill Clip, Non-Denouement, which is a bolt shot bow, and Summon Bonum, which is the first ever wave frame sword outside of Ergo Sum. Today, though, we are going to be taking a look at the 900 round per minute Strand SMG Imminence, which really ties into the whole raid, right? The impending doom, the constant timer countdown. It's stressful, but the loot here makes it all worth it. Now, taking a look here at Imminence, when we compare it to other SMGs, its archetype, think SMGs like Submission, Callous Mini Tool, etc. For Imminence here, we've got some pretty average stats. Base, we have 31 range, which is slightly above average, but not as high as something like Funnel Web. Our stability follows suit at a value of 43, with a pretty nice handling stat of 69. This puts us right under things like Multimach in terms of handling, but higher than things like Showrunner and Callous Mini Tool, who clocks in the lower 60s. Our reload speed is kind of a weakness though on Imminence. This is something you're going to notice, as it comes in under many of its counterparts at a value of 26. Our aim assist and zoom stats come in at an average of 57 and 14 respectively, but it does have high airborne effectiveness, sitting at a flat 30 and the standard 37 in the mag. So needless to say, guys, it's pretty much middle of the pack in many of these categories. Now moving on to perks. Starting off with the third column, we have Fragile Focus, Perpetual Motion, Pugilist, Dynamic Sway Reduction, Enlightened Action, Slice, and Demolitionist. In our fourth column, we have Strategist, Firefly, Desperate Measures, Target Lock, Chaos Reshaped, Kill Clip, and Hatchling. Now looking at those third column perks, we've got some pretty decent options. Demolitionist is a very strong pick, as refunding your grenade any amount in our current sandbox is invaluable. Essentially, kills with the weapon generate grenade energy, and activating your grenade ability reloads the weapons from reserves. Essentially, you're getting 10% of your grenade energy back on each kill. And as you know, most 900 round per minute SMGs will be mowing through red bars, which is exactly what you'll be doing here with Imminence. Another good option though that ties into many of your neutral game abilities is Pugilist. Pugilist works similar to Demolitionist, where final blows of the weapon generate melee energy, and dealing melee damage briefly improves this weapon's handling. Now the same as Demolitionist here, guys, we're looking at 10% ability energy on kills, just like Demo. Now both of these perks of course can be enhanced, but it just nets you 1% more, so 10% to 11%. It's nothing substantial, but it is a little something. Now Enlightened Action is also present here, and this is not a bad one either, as dealing damage improves reload speed and handling. Essentially, as you do damage with Imminence, you will gain 1 stack of Enlightened Action for every shot that hits an enemy, and each of these stacks will grant a small bonus to your reload speed, and this will cap out to 12 stacks. But the buff here is pretty nice. We're talking 50 handling and 50 reload speed tacked on at 12 stacks, and considering that this SMG by default has a slower reload, this is something that can counter that. Now the enhanced version gives slightly higher reload and slightly higher handling with each of those stacks, essentially just capping out at 55 for both handling and reload. Now the final perk I want to bring up, which is a very potent strand perk, this being Slice. Casting your class ability allows this weapon to sever targets on hits for a brief duration, up to a maximum number of targets. Essentially, guys, upon activating your class ability, Sever activates for 8 seconds, or 9 with the enhanced version. By the way, this works even if the weapon is stowed. And while this weapon has the perk active, the next 5 shots that hits an enemy will sever them. Now Sever is an extremely powerful elemental perk. The severed enemies will deal 40% less damage in PvE to you and your allies, and this lasts for 10 seconds. That's an insane amount of damage removed from the field. And this is the kind of thing that will save you in GM content. On top of that, it beautifully synergizes with Prismatic, as there are so many different things that bleed into anything that debuffs targets, and Sever falls into that effect. Now in our fourth column, we have a ton of different options, from Hatchling to Kill Clip to Target Lock to Desperate Measures. Firefly is also present here, as well as Strategist. But we also have the new perk Chaos Reshaped, and I'm going to start with that. This is a perk we have talked about a number of times, and for good reason. Think of this as like a souped up frenzy. The weapon gains bonus damage while in combat for an extended time, and remaining in combat for even longer rewards a larger damage bonus and periodically heals the wielder. Essentially, after being in combat for 12 seconds, you will gain 1 stack of Chaos Reshaped, and this is a 20% damage buff. And after remaining in combat for 24 seconds, you will gain a 2nd stack, and that damage bonus is a whopping 35%. The beautiful thing is, you will be healed 30 to 40 HP every 7 seconds, which is really nice. Now, we're not talking like restoration levels of healing, but compared to like Vanguard's Vindication, this is substantially better and can actually be something that will get you out of a pinch in in-game content. Now, we also have Firefly. This is the first time a darkness weapon has had access to this perk. Essentially, precision kills with this weapon increases reload speed and causes the target to explode, dealing solar damage to nearby enemies. Now, this triggers a decent size solar explosion when you get a precision kill. It's very good for ad clearing. Strand weapons don't often have room clearing AoE perks, but with Firefly, Imminence has changed the playing field. Additionally, when you trigger the perk, you gain plus 50 reload speed, which again helps counter that default slow reload speed. The enhanced version of this perk simply tacks on plus 5 reload. Now, desperate measures, of course, exist here if you wish. Again, though, being in the same column as Chaos Reshaped, I'm probably always going to choose Chaos over desperate measures. Now, finally, we also have Hatchling. Hatchling states that precision final blows are rapidly defeating targets. With this weapon spawns a threadling at the target's location. Now, threadling here will spawn either when you get a precision kill or when you get 3 rapid kills, which on a 900 round per minute SMG is very easy to accomplish. Now, when you do spawn a threadling, just at base, of course you can build into this, but just at base they deal 16,309 damage to red bar enemies. What makes Hatchling so good is when you start really committing to Strand and you start amping up your threadling damage, maybe you're tying it in to some Strand exotics, that's where Hatchling really opens itself up. And it's why, for me, on weapons like Witchkeeper, it's my go-to perk. Now, before getting into the god roll, I do want to talk about the origin trait here. This being collective purpose. It states that you gain bonus, range, and handling when near allies. Bows receive faster draw time, and swords receive faster charge rates. The effect scales with the number of nearby allies. Now, this is obviously an effect that's more noticed in like raid content or even things like Excision, but when you have multiple allies around you, it's a perk you'll notice on many other weapons. Now, for an SMG, you're probably not going to notice it as much, at least inside of PvE. Now, inside of PvP, that is something you might be able to take advantage of, but it's nothing you could truly bank on unless you and your teammates are just death balling together and literally just staying on top of each other. Now, with that being said, what are the best perk combinations here? Well, for PvE guys, I think Demolitionist, Pugilist, both great combinations for tying into your neutral game abilities. I think Firefly is also a pretty good option. If you were to go a desperate measure route, you could tie desperate measures into Demolitionist or Pugilist as they both play in together. Again, though, I like Chaos Reshaped too much, and that's just a personal preference for me. So if I was going to commit to a damage perk, that's probably the route that I would go. However, another strong combination here is, of course, Slice and Hatchling. This allows this weapon to be that ultimate Strand weapon if you're going to commit to a Strand-only build. I'm talking Thread of Evolution, where your threadling damage goes up by 33%, Thread of Continuity, which extends the Sever effect by 5 seconds. I'm not saying Slice and Hatchling isn't a good combination on its own, but I would really only recommend it if you are committing to Strand, because that's when you really start to see all the benefits here. Now, what about for PvP? Let me just say 900 round per minute SMGs aren't really my favorites. I like 600s. I like aggressives. There was a time where I was actually using Funnel Web a bunch inside of PvP. With that being said, a craftable roll of this with either Dynamic Sway, Accurized Rounds, Ranged Masterwork, and Hammerforged Rifling, you can have some pretty good reach here of around 19.97 meters. And of course, the Adept version goes even further than that. And you can take that range even further with perks like Fragile Focus, which passively grants 20 range, at least until your shield is destroyed. It's a good perk. Granted, kind of a tougher one to pull off in this sandbox. I feel like every single corner I go around, I'm getting hit with swarm grenades, a smoke, a clone. We've got AoE effects on top of AoE effects. But in a gun-to-gun scenario, Fragile Focus on Imminence is quite nice. And those would really be the two perks I would go between inside of PvP. Dynamic Sway, Fragile Focus. The enhanced version of both of those are really nice, especially Dynamic Sway, as it allows you to activate its max benefits even faster. The question is, what is the best perk to pair with it in that fourth column? Now, keep in mind, lightweight SMGs here have a base time to kill value of 0.73 seconds and 11 crits, 1 body. They can actually get down to 0.67 seconds and 11 crits on Guardians Tier 6 Resilience and below. Now, if you were to incorporate Target Lock, or most notably, Enhanced Target Lock, this gives you a smaller bump in damage inside of PvP over the base Target Lock. And I know Target Lock has been nerfed on SMGs, but it does make a slight difference. For instance, Enhanced Target Lock allows you to get the kill in 11 crits in 0.67 seconds on Guardians Tier 10 Resilience to Tier 6. And then from Tier 5, you can actually get the kill in 0.67 seconds, but in 10 crits, 1 body. Kill clip is also a good one there, as once you proc it, you can kill Guardians in 9 crits, 1 body in 0.6 seconds, even at max resilience, and the forgiveness just gets better and better, with the time to kill dropping even further on Guardians Tier 8 Resilience and below to 0.53 seconds. And that's really the two perks I would go with, either target lock or kill clip, at least inside of PvP. What I will say is that during my time playing with Imminence, it is solid, at least when it comes to lightweight SMGs. I would actually place it up there with things like Multi-Mock. But guys, I still find weapons like Immortal absolutely shred. Like in 1v1 scenarios, I think I just prefer Immortal. That archetype, that aggressive frame archetype. And perhaps even go further than that and just rock the new Shiora's Wrath. And I'm only bringing this up because I found myself in 1v1s against Immortals. And dude, I was getting shredded. But let me just also say that using SMGs in the sandbox, at least for me, is a tad bit difficult. No one is really engaging. We're living in a sandbox right now where it's all about disengaging. Enemies run in, they may shoot a single shot, and the moment they see you shoot back, dude, they just start emitting every ability in their arsenal while also retreating. That's really the sandbox we're living in. And what I've noticed with people always on the back foot, constantly retreating, any SMG is struggling to maintain full damage. Imminence is one of those weapons that unless you're on the right map, you're gonna run into that issue. And don't kid yourself, I do like this SMG, even inside of PvP. I think it's stronger inside of PvE, but if I could somehow land that Hammer Forge, accurized rounds, enhanced dynamic sway, and either kill clip or target lock with the ranged masterwork and an adept range mod, well, all right then. We're talking 20.88 meters. That's best case scenario. Now the chances of me actually getting that roll are slim to none. On top of that, I'm sure many of us already have some well-rolled Immortals, which can easily reach up over 21 meters. And hell, if you were to rock something like Keep Away with Immortal, you can go past 22 meters. I think what this really boils down to, though, is what archetype do you like to use more? I like aggressives when I have to use SMGs, and I still like Immortal. However, if you're a big fan of lightweights, then I'm sure Imminence will do just fine for you. So that's it, guys. That is our review. Again, keep in mind, lightweight SMGs inside of PvE actually have the best DPS in the game amongst SMGs. And with it also being a strand weapon, the ability to also take advantage of artifact mods, I think Imminence will serve you well. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.